Hello, I'm going to talk about food in England. The most well-known food and drinks that are from England are fish and chips, tea, and the English breakfast. A traditional English breakfast contains bacon, fried or scrambled eggs, tea and toast, and many other things. This kind of breakfast are usually only eaten on weekends. The tea in England are usually served are usually a black tea served with milk. The tea were drunk at afternoon with scones, but the afternoon tea have been replaced with just simple snacking. Other meals that are known from England are Sunday roast, that contains of roast potatoes, roast beef, lamb, pork, or even chicken. Traditional desserts in England are served hot like suet pudding that includes spotted dick, Christmas pudding, and many other variations. Other hot desserts include apple pie, treacle tart. The English pie are probably the most well-known dessert from England. It can be served hot or cold with ice cream or double cream. The cheddar cheese are originally from a village of Cheddar. The cheese exists in many different types. Stilton is also a well-known English cheese. It is known from its strong smell and taste. There are two types, the well-known blue and the less-known white. Both the cheddar and the blue Stilton are internationally very well known and are eaten worldwide. And there are strict rules on how they should be made. The food affects the school kids because the food they usually are served are unhealthy. This can lead to obesity, which later in life can lead to high risk for diseases like diabetes and many others. And if people get sick, they may not be able to work, and that will affect the society in a negative way. The royal family, the royal family of the United Kingdom are the most well-known royal family, and most people know who they are. There are a very long list of all the members in the royal family, but the people who are members of the royal family and who bears the style of Majesty or Royal Highness are not as many. They are the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, her husband, the Prince of Wales, the Duchess of Cornwall, who are the Queen's oldest son and his wife, and the Duke of York, the Queen's second son. More people on the list are kids of the princess or other family members of the Queen. The royal family public role is that they are participating in hundreds of events each year all around the United Kingdom. They also travel to other countries on the behalf of the United Kingdom, so-called state visits. The life have drawn a lot of media attention and have been written about their activities, their family relationships. This media attention was the reason that Princess Diana was killed in 97. Now over to Jonas, who's going to talk about Stonehenge and British schools.
I'm going to talk about Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a stone construction in Amesbury in Wiltshire, northwest of England. It was probably built between 2500 BC and 2000 BC. The outer circle of Stonehenge is around 30 meters in diameter. The monument is owned by English Heritage, and the nearby ground around it is owned by National Trust of Places of Historic Interest or Natural Beauty. There are a lot of stones, and some of them are up to 6.5 meters tall. The material that is used for the inner circle is a blue stone, which is not found in the area but is still a long way from Stonehenge. A beheaded man has also been found in the area around Stonehenge that dates back to 600 AD. Stonehenge is still a place for pilgrims and druids. Between 1972 and 1984, the Stonehenge Open Festival was annually held. In 1984, the festival was forbidden by the British government. A violent confrontation between the police and the New Age tourists took place, an incident which then came to be known as the Battle of the Bean Field. In nearly 15 years, these groups didn't have any access to Stonehenge for religious purposes. Today, there are 4 opportunities per year for religious groups to visit it. Stonehenge has about 800,000 visitors per year and have an average income of £6 million per year, while costing the taxpayers approximately £2.4 million to run. I'm also going to talk about schools. There are different kinds of schools in Britain. There are schools run by the government and state schools that are financed by public funds. There are also private schools that parents pay for their children to attend. Full-time education is compulsory for all children aged between 5 and 17. Students may then continue their secondary studies for a further 2 years. Higher education often begins with a 3-year-old bachelor degree. Postgraduate degrees include master's degrees and a doctorate, which take at least 3 years. Universities require a royal charter in order to issue a degree. Britain has some of the most successful universities, and their education are of high standards. The most known universities are Oxford University, University of Cambridge, University College London, and University of Edinburgh. Here is Elis.
I'm going to talk about pubs in the United Kingdom. The people of the United Kingdom was drinking ale and other beers already in the Bronze Age, but the first pubs started when the Romans came and built a network of roads. Pub stands for public house, which means that it is open to the public. Pubs in England are often pretty small houses where people would go to meet their friends and to drink and eat. You have to be 21 years old to be allowed to drink alcohol in a pub, but depending on the pub you may be allowed to come in and watch games, play pool, or just eat food if it's served there. It's not uncommon for families to go to a pub to eat dinner. There are about 57,000 pubs in the United Kingdom at the moment, and 50,000 of these pubs are in England and Wales, 5,000 in Scotland and 1,500 in Northern Ireland. The reason to why there are so many pubs is that it was really easy to get permission to create a pub before it changed it. Pubs are often tied to one brewery, which means that the brewery owns the pub, but a private individual is running it as a separate business. Because there are so many pubs in the United Kingdom, there had to be special pubs like sports bar, rocks pubs, and pubs for special counters. For example, a football pub where fans of certain teams would meet to drink, talk, and watch games together. Pubs are always not just pubs, they were often inside of inns. When travelers are looking for a place to sleep, eat, drink, they often stay at an inn that is commonly built along the road. In most inns, there are often pubs located inside or just beside it, so it will be easy for travelers to eat and drink. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about traditions and holidays in the United Kingdom. There are a lot of traditions in the United Kingdom, as there are in the most countries too, but I'm going to tell you about few of the United Kingdom ones. They celebrate Christmas, Halloween, Mother's and Father's Day. All of these we also celebrate here in Sweden, but in the United Kingdom also celebrate things like Bonfire Night, St. Patrick's Day, or Harvest Festival. And St. Patrick's Day, which is on March the 17th, the people of Ireland dress up in green and drink Guinness to celebrate St. Patrick, who was a missionary man that brought Christianity to Ireland somewhere around year 385. Bonfire is celebrated in England because in November 1605 the infamous gunpowder plot took place, in which some Catholic plotted to blow up the English Parliament and King James I on the day that the king was supposed to open the Parliament. The men were angry because the king had treated them badly and they didn't like it. They celebrate Bonfire Night because the suspected plot to kill the king failed. To celebrate, people make great bonfires and shoot fireworks on the 5th of November. Harvest Festival is a celebration of the food that has grown on the land. The celebration for a good harvest are both worldwide and ancient. In the United Kingdom, harvest festivals have been celebrated for a really long time. It is celebrated by singing, praying, and decorating our churches with baskets of fruit and food. The harvest festival are celebrated around the 23rd of September.
Hello, I'm going to talk about football and pop culture. Football is the national sport in England. England has over 40,000 football clubs, and Sheffield FC is the oldest football club in England. Football has been played in England as far back as medieval times. The first rules were written in England. Football influences the English society, since they have the biggest football league in the world. Everyone is influenced by football in England. The biggest football teams in England are Manchester United and Liverpool. They have fans all over the world. Premier League is the biggest football league in England and in the world, and it's many fans for it too. Each season the bottom 3 clubs were relegated from Premier League and replaced by 3 from Championship. England national team represents England in international football. It's one of 2 oldest teams in the world. Wembley Stadium is the national stadium in England. It's the largest stadium in the country with a capacity of 90,000. It's owned by the FA and stages England home match, the FA Cup final and semi-finals, League Cup final and Champions League 2030 final. Old Trafford is the largest club stadium with a capacity of 76. Pop culture in Great Britain. British pop culture has an important place in the world. The Brits export music, TV, films, and celebrations all over the world, and they have been responsible for some of the most important pop culture elements to take the world by storm. From the Beatles began the British music scene. They have been at the forefront of new musical waves ever since. Punk was born there, as was Britpop and the Manchester sound of bands such as Osiris and the Happy Mondays. David Bowie has inspired generations of musicians and listeners alike, with his music always at the cutting edge. Thank you for listening.